The following is a movie review for Zack Snyder's new movie, Watchmen, which is based off the comic book series by Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore. The beginning of the film opens up with the murder of a former superhero, which we learn is named the Comedian, and his murder is portrayed in the trailer, so there's really nothing much you can expect when you watch the opening scene. After a quick transition, we are then introduced to Rorschach, who wears a white cloth mask over his face, which continually changes patterns of black and white, and we learn more about why this happens throughout the film. We're then introduced to other characters like Silver Spectre, Night Owl, and of course the Blue Man, Dr. Manhattan. However, Jackie Earle Haley, the man who portrayed Rorschach, did the overall best job. The reason why I say this is because he had that vicious sounding voice, he had a traumatic childhood as we see through the film's very frequent flashbacks, and his bad cop ethics where if you can't get someone to squeal, you pinch them, you break a few fingers, things like that. It really added to the film's overall effect of how justice and good have to be attained through any means necessary. However, it's because of superheroes like Rorschach that the public opinion on these heroes is negative. They revere them as vigilantes, and because of congressional and governmental acts, they're pretty much outlawed. The setting of New York City in 1985 was constructed very well. There was a lot of hookers and gang members on the streets, which was a nice touch. They put a lot of effort into the props, and what I thought was a nice demonstration of symbolic irony is that they put the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers, in the background, which I thought was kind of interesting. The reason why this is ironic is because if you watch a trailer, you see a bomb go off, and when everything is settled down, in the background you see the World Trade Center, and I know obviously the 9/11 attacks weren't funny, but it's funny to see how in our day and culture we remember seeing those structures built and now they're not there anymore, and how when we're talking about destroying New York City in the past, you would think because of 9/11, oh, the World Trade Center would go too, but it's still standing there after the bomb goes off. So, nods off to Snyder for that little touch. Overall, you're not going to expect a lot of fighting or action sequences. There will be a lot of special effects, especially when Dr. Manhattan takes Silver Spectre to Mars and they get on that giant glass orb. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just this entity of mystery. But other than that, there's a big fight sequence at the prison, but it's really just people punching and kicking each other. And then there are scenes of gore. A man gets his arms chopped off, but after that, there's really nothing much to expect from this film. This isn't going to be like The Matrix where there's cool special effects and neat camera tricks. No. Zack Snyder does offer his slow motion technique like he introduced in 300, but there's nothing new, nothing fresh, and really nothing worth talking about. I haven't read the comic book, so when I went into this movie, I was really hopeful that I would be blown away or at least intrigued by the story. And although the story was interesting and a new take on the whole superhero phenomenon that we've seen with Spider-Man, Hancock, Special, and of course The Dark Knight, there's really nothing bold, nothing that has not been done before, because the main theme of the film is philosophical and ideological differences, which is very prevalent and obvious at the end of the film. It's kind of like in Swordfish when John Travolta makes us think of the notion and the question, how much are we willing to sacrifice and end in order to better the rest of us, or to increase the prosperity, the wealth, etc., of the world? So how much are we willing to kill for in order to get what we want, which is good and peace? However, to be kind and to be blunt, the film did do a good job as relating superheroes to our modern culture. The opening credits with the scenes of the end of World War II, the JFK assassination, which I thought was done actually pretty well, better than Oliver Stone's version, really makes us think, what if superheroes really existed? How would they interact, influence, and impact our everyday lives, which is something Snyder does effectively because he shows them winning the Vietnam War. He shows Richard Nixon being elected multiple times because of the Soviet threat, which is now more and more feared because of superheroes being outlawed. So Snyder does a good job in that aspect. And of course, there is a nice steamy sex scene aboard that little metal dildo looking craft that the Night Owl and Silver Spectre ride on. It's actually pretty well done and tasteful, but it's not necessary. It takes away from the film. So now we're seeing relationship issues involved in heroes' identities and internal struggles. So in that term and aspect, Snyder really let us down. Also, we do see Dr. Manhattan's penis quite frequently. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 scenes where we see it, and it's just, come on, I mean, in some scenes the guy's wearing like metal underwear, and the other scenes he's not. I mean, make up your mind. I mean, as a director, that's just distasteful to me because, one, I'm not gay, I don't like looking at that shit, but also because it's not necessary, just like the sex scene. I mean, do we really have to look at a guy schlong for 10 seconds just because he's nude? I mean, shoot from the waist up. Before I give my final conclusion, I would like to let you know on a little piece of information. A lot of people have dubbed this movie the unfilmable film. It cannot be made. I mean, how can you turn 12 parts into a 2.5, 3-hour movie? It's virtually impossible. And while Zack Snyder has done a somewhat good job, I think ultimately he didn't show the comic book series in a good light. One reason why I say this is because in the film, there's a lot of material that could have been cut out because it served no useful purpose. It didn't make an impact or a difference in the overall story or ending. Spoiler alert, so please close your ears if you don't want to hear anything important. We are revealed in the film that Silver Spectre's father is the comedian, the man who was killed in the beginning. So what? I mean, does it really change our mood of the film? Does it really make us want to tear up and cry? I mean, the only moment I thought was worth a tear or even a choke up was when, spoiler alert, Dr. Manhattan destroyed Rorschach because of their ideological and philosophical differences. That's the only time I actually felt some emotion in the film. So I don't know. I think this was the unfilmable film. I don't think this will go down as a great film, more likely a cult classic. My final score is I want to be generous here, so I'll give a 7 out of 10, although I feel a 6 out of 10. There was a great effort put into the film, but overall it just didn't mean anything. Please leave a comment below. Please be nice. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.